and welcome to this week's episode of Dhoom Channel's Inspiration. I'm your host Bella, and this week I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr S.K. Behera, the Consul General of India. Dr. Behera is a graduate from JNU University in New Delhi. He also holds a doctorate from Oxford University. Starting his career in Moscow, he has worked in various capacities in Indian external affairs. His career in Moscow and worked in various capacities in Indian missions in Tashkent, Sofia and Washington DC. He has also worked as Undersecretary, Deputy Secretary, Director and Joint Secretary in Ministry of External Affairs, New Delhi, at different points of time. As Consul General of India, Dr. Behera works to build strong ties between India, Victoria and Tasmania. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Behera.
I congratulate to all the viewers of the Dhoom channel, and I am happy to be here.
You studied at Oxford University where you received a doctorate. In what subject did you receive the doctorate?
Yeah, I received my Doctor of Philosophy in the modern history area.
And you're quite a prolific writer. How many books have you published?
See, I am a bilingual writer. I write both in English and in my mother tongue, that is Odia, one of the rich languages of India. In Oriya, I write mostly stories and poems, and so far I have 13 collections which have been published and widely received. In English, mostly I write in scholarly ways, in the sense I am also a scholar. My Oxford thesis has been published as a monograph. Apart from that, also I have brought out 2 collections of essays or articles which have been published in different Indian and international journals.
And what are the main themes that your writings cover?
No, as I mentioned, in Oriya, I write creative writings, in the sense stories and poems. So stories, of course, I dwell on different human concerns, and as a scholar, I work mostly on nationalism, identity issues, migration, nationalism, etc., etc.
So you would say that a lot of your writings touch on the issues of a post-colonial nation?
Yeah, right, absolutely right.
And as Consul General, what are some of your goals?
About goals, let me first put it very frankly that when you talk of Consul General, I represent the Government of India here. So first of all, I have to implement the directions and instructions of Government of India. Within that ambit, I have to see how I can advance or further India-Australia relations here, particularly with reference to Victoria, as my not only Victoria but also Tasmania, because my consular jurisdiction covers Victoria as well as Tasmania. So, as Consul General of India here, I have a couple of areas which I have to see. First of all, it's a community. As you know, here in Victoria, we have more than 100,000 Indians, of maybe by birth they are Indians or they have migrated. So they have a number of issues, and I have to tackle these issues. There is one. Number 2 is our cultural ties, and we have to see how we can promote Indian culture here by different ways. Thirdly, commerce. Commerce is one of the biggest challenge for us, and I am not going to talk about India's trade relations as a whole with Australia, but with Victoria. It is good that our we have I think one of the biggest export volume to Victoria of all the Australian states. And but we have to still do a lot to further our commercial relations. Then the 4th aspect is our consular aspect. That is, we have to issue visas and provide lot of consular services, not only to the Indian communities but also Australians. These are the areas in which we work, and you may say these are the also goals for me, so that I can achieve the targets that we set.
And what are some of the ways the Consulate General Office will bring Indian culture to Australia? What are some of the initiatives that are out there to bring Indian culture to life?
As I mentioned to you, one of our main areas of function is to promote and encourage Indian culture here. For that, we have to first encourage what Indians themselves are doing here. Here there are hundreds of Indian organizations which are devoted to promote and propagate Indian culture. Not only classical culture of India, but also the popular culture, which you say Bollywood culture. And we do not discriminate between both these things. So whenever there is any program going on, or anybody comes to us for any assistance, we step in. We promote them in whatever way they want us. And of course, we have to keep in mind our limitations also, because Government of India has some strict guidelines, and we have to go within, work within that limitations. And particularly whenever there is any request for classical culture, to assist or to sponsor any Indian artist, classical artists from India, we always try to do so by way of inviting from India. And of course, we have got something in India called what is called ICCR, Indian Council of Cultural Relations. We request them, they send artists, and we organize concerts for them throughout Victoria and Tasmania. And then of course you have got a good presence of Bollywood system, I should say, here, because the Bollywood dance is getting popular. So it is a good sign that our popular culture is also getting grounding here. And recently we have finished what we call Melbourne Bollywood Festival of India, and it was a great success. We have got some eminent stars here. So this is how we either actively how I should say, we should actively get involved in promoting Indian culture, or we sponsor them by bringing from India.
Please stay tuned. We're just going to take a short break, and we look forward to seeing you when we get back.
The cultural promotion here, we are not only targeting Indian community here, we are also targeting the mainstream Australians. So that
Welcome back after the break. I'm here with Dr. S.K. Behera, Consul General of India. Why do you think it is so important that we build such a strong bond between Australian and Indian culture?
I must say it is a very important question. It is important and crucial question. Perhaps you may be aware that your Australian government is now preparing a white paper on the Asian century, the place of Australia in the Asian century. That means Australian government, like any other governments in the world, is gradually realizing that this century is of Asia. When we talk of Asian century, it obviously refers to India, China, and some of the big economies. So when you are finding out or exploring the possibilities of your engagement with India, so it is very important that Australia must be sensitized to the Indian culture. So unless you become India literate, I must put it within quote, India literate, how you will be engaged with India? So when we are talking of cultural promotion here, we are not only targeting Indian community here, we are also targeting the mainstream Australians, so that now Australians also know what is India, what India can offer them in terms of culture.
Do you think that Indian-born Australians are losing their touch as they come over? Are they losing touch with their home culture?
I don't think so, because I have worked in the USA also. You see, now in Australia, we are yet to get, we are yet to reach a stage when there will be second and third generation of Indians. Now it is either first generation Indians or second generation of Indians. And you will be happy to note that, like in USA, here also, the second generations of Indians are more curious and interested about India. Of course, when their parents came, they came from India, so they know what is India. But the second generation, their children, when they are exposed here about India, they become more curious, they become more interested. What is India? So that is why they want to relate to their roots. So I don't think they are losing, rather they are trying, and you will be happy to note, and I think it is for everybody who is viewing this program, this Government of India has got some specific programs to encourage the second generation Indians here, not only here, everywhere, to go to India for a short duration to a particular states, so that they become exposed to Indian culture, the way of living, lot of things. So that we are doing for last 4 to 5 years now.
So what other ways does the Consul General Office provide, what other help does it provide for Indian communities other than visa processing and issuing?
I think this is also a very important question, because many of the Indian community people may not be aware of this. You have rightly mentioned about visa services, but apart from visa services, we also provide some other consular services. When I am talking of consular services, it means like people of Indian origin, when they get your PR status, so there has to be some police clearance certificate. First, that we provide. Secondly, also we authenticate driving licenses, which is required for PR status here. So there are like this some consular works which are needed for the Indians, and even there are number of Indian retirees here. After their retirement, they are here. We have to certify that they stay here every month, so they get their this pension back in India. So these are some of the consular works we do. But apart from consular works, say in commercial field, if there is any disputes between two parties, say one trading agency here and trading agency in India have got some disputes, then we step in. We try to reconcile it, and we try to see that both the parties agree on certain terms. Then thirdly, which is now the most important thing is coming up among the Indian community, domestic violence cases. There are many domestic violence cases which are coming to our notice. It may include sometimes wife, sometimes also husband, and sometimes children are also affected, and we very effectively intervene in the domestic violence cases. Then another important area of our assistance is sometimes we provide legal as well as financial help also to the needy Indians. There are a number of cases when one Indian has died here without means, so his dead body had been repatriated to India with our help. And also there has been lot of other disputes for which we have provided not only legal assistance, because we have got our panel of lawyers, but also we provide financial assistance to a minimum extent. So these are number of areas where we help Indians here.
So if anybody in the Indian community at home watching needs any help at all, who do they contact or how do they contact them?
Yeah, we have got our website. Then we have got our emergency officer, who is called Student and Community Welfare Officer, who has got an emergency number, and this has been circulated everywhere. I think almost all Indian community people have got that number, because we give wide publicity to that number. And it is 24/7. Anytime one can ring up that, and we give emergency services, including in Saturday, Sunday. If there is an emergency for somebody to go to India, our people are there to go to the office to issue emergency visa also. Not only that, all are most welcome to contact me. My mobile number is openly available to everybody. Anytime they want to appeal or anything to complain, they are most welcome to do.
The results of the 2011 census indicates that India ranks 4th on the top 10 countries of birth for the overseas born population, with a figure close to 295,000 people. What message would you like to pass on in regards to the future of Indians in Australia?
As a whole, I must say they have bright future. Earlier, say till 80s, the main trend of migration from India was the USA or UK, but now trend is shifting towards Australia. So definitely it is bright, and I must advise all those who want to come here, we must forget our past, what has happened in last 2-3 years. These are all unfortunate situations, so we must forget, and there is a bright future waiting here for everybody. If you really want to improve yourself, then I think this is one of the best places in the world.
Please stay tuned. We're just going to take a short break, and we look forward to seeing you when you get back.
There are some number systems, and students should be clear about that. I am particularly talking of those students, those who are coming for the
Welcome back after the break. I'm here with Dr. S.K. Behera, Consul General of India. And we can all understand that it can be extremely tough being an international student, having to study and work to support themselves. Do you have any words of advice or any wisdom for international students studying in Australia?
No, international students, advice to Indian students or for any international student, I must say, now situation is improved, but before they come to Australia to study, they must examine and scrutinize which course they are coming, for which university or TAFE institute they are coming, because these are some of the checks they have to do before they come out. Otherwise, what happens now, particularly I must say in India, there are many other unscrupulous agents who really bring the students here, and they do not give a good picture. Many Indian students come here with the rosy picture that once they finish their vocational course and they will get their PR. But this is not so. Now the situation is changing. Your government has got new policies for PR. There are some number systems, and students should be clear about that. I am particularly talking of those students, those who are coming for the vocational courses. But for the higher education is different, because higher education they come I think at the highest specialized courses and all this. So for them there may not be a problem. And particularly if you are asking about the studies here as such, I must say at the university level, Australia offers some of the best courses in the world, and its universities rank among the best 100 in the world also, as we know. So for higher education, particularly for postgraduate and research degrees, it is one of the best places. And now people are coming. Now many Indians are coming for higher education.
So do you have a message that you would like to leave our viewers at home with?
The message for the community?
For the community?
Yes, no. I must say to the Indian community here that they are doing very fine here, and now we have many qualified people throughout Victoria. They are not only doctors, engineers, professors, but also IT professionals, accountants, and so on. And they have a bright future, and they must also be secure, they feel secured, because if there is any problem, they can fall back on the Consulate General of India, and we are here to support you, support the community people whenever there is any problem or any issue.
I understand the Consulate General Office has organised a panel discussion. I believe it's entitled India Going Beyond Today. Can you shed some light on the event and what it was about?
Yeah, you're right. On the August 16th, we organized a panel discussion, India Going Beyond Today. It is an exercise in our public diplomacy. We had a distinguished panel of 6 people, which included the Australian Institute Director Dr Amita Mattu. Then we had also AIBC Chairman Ravi Bhatia. We had the great classical dancer Tara Rajkumar, and also the DIB Secretary here in the panel. So they discussed various aspects of state of India's present development, and how this development can be utilized by Australia and Victoria in particular for furthering India-Victoria relations. Both in India and outside, we have dozens of studies, assessments, net assessments, etc. are being made on this particular aspect.
The first driver of change, and I call them the 4 Ds. The first driver of change is demography. India has and will continue to have the youngest population in the whole world, 600 million people under the ages of 25 by 2020.
Our strategies are simply this, that we think that very few companies in Victoria proportionately trade with India. It's probably under 3% of all companies. So we put the engagement question under the heading of discovery.
Necessarily the country that you go to, but it's a future that you create. So it's your action in that new environment that will create a new future.
We must, all of us, I believe.
And it was very well attended.
Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Behera. It's been a pleasure to interview you. As this week's episode draws to a close, I'd like to leave you a quote by Albert Einstein. Try not to become a man of success, but a man of value. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Dhoom Channel's Inspiration. I'm your host, Bella, and I look forward to seeing you next week.